Hi, my name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and today I'm going to break down macro charts for a weekly update. Every week on Friday, we want to give you a nice afternoon update showing you what's happening in the markets on a macro scale. We're going to start with Bitcoin, head into the S&P, Nasdaq, the DXY, and we're also going to be looking at Bitcoin dominance and Tether dominance. So jump on in. Let's have a blast. The first thing we're going to look at is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had a beautiful resistance here that turned into support at about 24,825K. And since then, we've been bouncing to the upside. The weekly is now turning up. The stochastics are in a falling wedge that could turn, and the MACD wants to turn. You also have falling price with falling volume, telling me there should be a reversal back to the upside. So the weekly looks like we could get a big move. If this is what's called a massive W, all right, how you play a W is you take the middle of the W to that neckline and you swing it to this top area here, this neckline here, and that would tell you could get up to 37,750. Once you breach this resistance, Bitcoin is going to soar to this high volume node here. You can see there's a gap up in here on the VRVP. If you want to add this indicator, it's called up here, type in VRVP. Once you do that, it's not going to look like this. You're going to go to your settings, and you're going to go to the inputs, and you're going to put a 0 next to the 24. It's going to be 24, put a 0 in there, and you're going to look just like mine, all right? So take a look at this as we continue to move up here and see what's happening, all right? Bitcoin, beautiful double bottom, and that's your measured move up there. So and there's a gap. A lot is telling us this is highly likely. Let's slap on our simple moving averages. If the weekly on Sunday, it's Friday afternoon now, if on Sunday night we can close above this yellow line, that's going to be huge. That's going to be very, very bullish for Bitcoin, you know? So that's something that we're looking for, the weekly to close above. And there's resistance here at 28,080. If we can close above 28,080, my goodness, we're going to be in line for a pretty big some more upside coming for Bitcoin. So that's my bullishness. Now, if we can't get above this level and we get rejected by the 200 SMA, the chance we could go lower too, right? The bearish scenario that is, I think, is less likely but possible is that this could make a right shoulder here and we could end up breaking down back to this key area of liquidity at 21,200. But considering we had so many chances on the weekly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly candles to break below here, and we did not, to me that solidifies the fact that we are ready to move for a bigger move because there was so much buy pressure there. I've been saying this before the big move and it happened, but only time will tell. So I am more bullish on Bitcoin, as you can see. I also found this. This was a swing up to swing up. This was a swing down to swing down. This is a hidden bullish divergence on the 3-day chart. Whenever I see hidden bullish on the 3-day, it tells me we are likely going to get a move to the upside. You're going to break a high inside the divergence. So we should continue up and break through this high. That's what this weekly divergence, this hidden bullish divergence on the 3-day says, you know. So very, very strong divergence too as well. I like what I'm seeing there. And so that's one thing we're looking at. Let's move on into the daily time frame. Now the daily could flip back bullish. And what I'm trading, I'm actually in a trade right now. And I'll tell you why. You know, I recently have been trading support or resistance more and more, and honestly, every trader needs to know their support or resistance. Just like we showed you, the weekly had a bunch of wicks. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 daily candles closed above this previous resistance. So resistance, so 27.2, beautiful place to long. And so this has been huge. So this makes me want to long. So honestly, if you're thinking of a trade, possible trade right now is the fact that this actually is breaking out, right, of a flag, and this has a big measured move, boom. This is a simple trade to me, not a lot to think about. I'm already in the trade, you know. Now, if you're late to this trade, there could be a flag or something coming out. But what I love about this trade is the risk-reward ratio. It's a 6.5 to 1. I don't have to risk a lot to gain a lot. So I'm super, super, super excited about this. So that's why I'm just, you know, you live for these trades. And look at the gap in the VRVP. This is so likely bringing us up to 29,000. So there's a trade right there. Entry somewhere up in here. The stop loss would have to be lower. Now the entry was lower. If you can get back in, you know, my trading group, I already gave all these entries. It's a little late now, but I still see if you can get some type of flag here or something, I do see a possible move. But this is a great place to have a stop loss and to be able to enter this trade on a bigger move to the upside. So this is what I'm seeing on the daily. A move up to about 29,400. That's the measured move as well. Remember this gap in the VRVP. Again, the daily needs to break above the 200. Once you get above the 200 SMA, fireworks, everybody, fireworks. Look right here, boom, we boomed up. Go Google, go basically look at this and go look at any asset. Every time you got above the 200 right here, big move, pump. Right here, huge move, pump. And it's rare. You don't get it that much on the daily. This is the beginning of a probably bigger move. We get above the 200 SMA here on the daily, we are going to get a massive move. So the weekly looks interesting. The daily looks interesting. The 3-day chart looks interesting. And the 22, which is kind of like my hidden secret pattern chart or time frame, this looks like it can moon too as well. So that's getting ready for a possible move to the upside. And look, this previous resistance is support. This is really where the entry was, right about 27,200. We got there this morning on a low. They dipped us to that area. They gave a perfect entry for this to be had to the upside. We called the reversal too on the live stream today. Watch me Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. All right. So I'm bullish, as you can see. And now if you want the smaller time frames, the 4-hour may have to kind of cool down here, but to me, it broke out. So you had this, what it was a symmetrical triangle on the smaller time frame today. They whipped us down with some news of the unemployment, right? But then it kind of became a nothing burger, and they broke us out. You look for this to flag out possibly, or maybe even break above this and flag out. So I'm looking for this to continue up possibly and then flag, or flag out here. Either way, I'm looking for this to continue to the upside, and I love that we got above. Look, previous resistance became support right there on the 4-hour time frame. That was a beautiful entry, and we came down one more time to give you a second chance to get in today during the volatility, which was absolutely amazing. So again, though, Bitcoin must break back above 28,139 to be fully bullish, and it has to close a candle above these wicks at 28,600. That's going to be our key area to break back above. Last thing I'm going to want to show you, right, is if I look at this bigger structure, there is a bit of a rising wedge type of pattern, almost maybe even call it an ascending triangle here. And we'd like to see Bitcoin just kind of stay inside this range between 28,600 and the lower trend line here. And eventually a big move could be coming for Bitcoin. So I am bullish overall. Again, if we never get back above 28,630 and we use that as a double top, then that will be bearish. But right now, there's no reason to be bearish because we broke above this key resistance. We used it as support. That tells me Bitcoin's about to go for this new high, break this high, and continue to the upside. So I gave you even an idea there that I was looking at, and that's my Bitcoin macro in a nutshell, from the weekly all the way back down to about the 4-hour time frame. The DXY on the weekly looks like it's about to tank. It's very, very overbought. On the 3-day, it's very, very overbought. It's extended. It can't be this extended for too long. I want to see it break to the downside. Let's zoom in here and get rid of my squiggly lines and show you what I was looking at earlier. But what we want is we want this to make an M. The 3-day now is making a bearish engulfing candle with tweezer tops. That's usually the beginning of some nasty, nasty downside. Also, the 3 days very far away from the 21. I would expect the dollar index to dump back down to the 21-day moving average here and continue its move down, right? So we've got the bearish engulfing candle. This just actually closed last night. So in 3 days and 3 hours, this candle will close, which is awesome. In 3 days and maybe they're not timing that properly. They may not time that properly, but this candle is on its way back down to the 21 SMA. I see the dollar index dumping, the DXY. Look at the RSI coming down. And then if you look at the other time frames, like the 4-hour, this bearish div, this is a rising wedge. I'd be highly surprised if we get back above 107. The rejection seems to be in here for the dollar index, meaning a big pump for Bitcoin as the dollar index starts to fall to the downside. So keep that in your mind, but that looks very, very likely. We look at the Nasdaq and the same thing. If the dollar dumps, the Nasdaq is just going to pump. That's just what's going to happen. I called a massive reversal on the Nasdaq, and you know what? They got everyone into fear. And what happened? The Nasdaq did, in fact, pull up a beautiful reversal. I was calling this move up out of this flag to the upside. You can see this flag I drew saying that we could get to my circled area. Look, we went right to my area that we were circled. I kept saying, as long as we can hold this trend line, we can boom back up. They created a lot of fear. Look, this is a shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, shoulder, a bit of a complex inverted head and shoulder, boom to the upside. I talked about getting above this point of control. We could go all the way to the next level at 15,143. We hit that level, came back down. The Nasdaq doing beautiful. So I see the Nasdaq in this bigger channel, and this is how I see it. I see it like so. I'll show you the 4-hour time frame. Up, down, coming back to the upside here for the Nasdaq. If you look at the bigger time frames like the 3-day, it's very oversold, and I love my 3-day chart. My 3-day chart really, most of the masses, a lot of people, the majority of traders do not look at the 3-day chart. So looking at the 3-day gives me an edge. This 3-day looks like it's about to blast to the upside. That's a double bottom, if you ask me. 1, 2, just like Bitcoin. And I see this blasting as the dollar continues to collapse. A lot of people are bearish. I see the Nasdaq getting up to some higher levels. All right. We had a massive 3-day candle today, booming to the upside. That's awesome. So I'm super excited to see that. And yeah, I mean, anything can happen. So this 3-day candle closes on Tuesday, I believe, right? Because it's, you know, it's not open on the weekend like Bitcoin is. So this thing is massively moving up, and it hit my target that I had called for the Nasdaq too as well on my live stream and on my updates to my trading group. But if you see, I go over the Nasdaq on my live stream every single day. So I see more move coming, probably some slight flags and everything, but I see the Nasdaq coming up all the way to the top here at 1540, and then we'll reconvene from there. But that's bullish as well. The S&P, let's take a look at the ES1 S&P futures, all right? They have also got the bounce to the upside like we wanted, right? See here, I had this inside of a flag. I had a measured move. Actually not done, says we could continue. The 15-minute resetting, I see the S&P futures getting all the way up to 43.97 and pumping. Getting above this point of control was key. There was a divergence here. They had everyone thinking we were going to go lower. They just kind of crashed the price a few times. They got everyone to short. They flushed them out, and they brought the pumps back to the upside. So I see the S&P making its way back, look, to the top of the channel. Again, it's very similar to, it's in this 1, 2, 3. I see this coming back up. And then look, it's in a bigger symmetrical triangle too as well that you may not have seen because it's a macro idea. And I even gave a long for the S&P, which is already in the money. All right. And I see this going all the way up as they print the money to $6,100. They're going to keep printing money. The prices of stocks are going to have to go up. This is what I see happening. Now, you also want to look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is how much money is in Bitcoin compared to the altcoins. This morning, we told you it looked like Bitcoin dominance was going to take a massive push to the upside. Look at the 15-minute right now. It says tonight, I would watch your alts, your BTC pairs. When this happens, when the dollar dumps and the Nasdaq and everything pumps, it looks like Bitcoin's going to get a massive rally, and so will Bitcoin dominance. So I see Bitcoin dominance making some type of big move here out of this, squiggly flag. There's another flag here and continuing up to 52.17. And then I even have a bigger channel here for Bitcoin dominance, which suggests that this flag may get all the way up to 53%. That's when Bitcoin starts to pump, people either sell off alts or people just run into Bitcoin first. It creates a massive frenzy. What you want to see with this is we want to see tether dominance beginning to fall off. Now, tether dominance is in a bit of a symmetrical triangle, which means it could go either way. Right now, the weekly is pointing down, but it's rounding. Now, if they print enough tether dominance could somewhat go up and then flood back into cryptocurrencies, right? That's something we could look at. Let's take a look at this. Now, the weekly's in a falling wedge, but could continue down. If we see tether dominance fall here and bearishly retest, like if this slips out of this pattern and bearishly retests right here, that's going to be a massive move for not only altcoins, Bitcoin, just basically crypto in general. However, we do want to see more people minting tether. So tether, that's another thing that I've entered into the idea that it's not the worst thing if tether gets a little move, but we just want to see Bitcoin dominance beating up on tether dominance. So right now, we could still go a little further to the downside. We do have a shoulder head and a shoulder. So it says, hey, there might be a little bit of a push up for tether dominance back to the upside here. But in the general scheme of things, it's generally going more sideways than Bitcoin's push to the upside. So we kind of want this to go sideways a little more while Bitcoin pumps, because we are going to get some tether dominance because more tether gets pumped into the market. We just don't want to see it trump Bitcoin dominance, right? So, and look at this shoulder head and a right shoulder there. We are trumping. We're falling to the downside. Do we lose this level and then fall further to the downside is the question. So only time will tell. But that's kind of your update here for the dollar, U.S. tether dominance, Bitcoin dominance, S&P futures, the Nasdaq, DXY, and Bitcoin. I hope you really enjoyed this. I did. I'll be back every single Friday to do this each week to kind of give you a nice, clear, even picture of what's happening in the bigger macro idea of the markets. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.